And welcome everybody to the Stanford starring California Fantasy Rebuild Challenge. I think that's about what the closest we've come to getting consecutive videos in a row with a similar name there. But yeah, we're in the off season. We've wrapped up our regular season at the end of last video, and the first half of the season was awful. We didn't get a single win, but in the later half of the season, we ended up getting 4 wins. So we end the season 4-13, which isn't great, but we're one of the lowest overalls in this version of Madden with the fantasy draft. We are a 73 offense, 74 defense, 74 overall. And hopefully that will improve going into next year, as we're going to have more players opened up to us, players that we weren't really eligible to maybe pick up in that fantasy draft, as we had the rule Stanford players first and then the rest of the California teams. Now it's just completely wide open. We could go after any guy who played at a school in California. So to start off, we will mostly just sim through the playoffs, take a quick look at the Pro Bowl, although I doubt we'll have many people there. Maybe Paulson Adebo, who had a great rookie year. But before we go through the sim, let's take a look at the stats from this year. So obviously we know our offense wasn't that good, but we weren't the worst. We were the 31st offense, 24th defense. So not the worst, but definitely has some room to improve. And really a lot of that, at least for our offense, can go through improved play from Davis Mills. He was a rookie quarterback. He had a lot of passing yards, 3,762, pretty good. 18 touchdowns, not awful. 24 interceptions, pretty bad. So definitely need to get better at that aspect. Also, completion percentage definitely needs to go up. But he was sacked 47 times. So maybe some better blocking up front will also help out there. Also might help the interceptions, not having to force some passes. But definitely some improvement that can happen on the passing game for sure. Christian McCaffrey, good year though. He averaged 5 yards a rush. He had about 13,500 yards. Pretty good. 16 touchdowns. He did only fumble once, so that's not bad. But our number 2 rusher was Davis Mills, surprisingly. And he actually had decent average, 3.8 yards a rush. He didn't have any touchdowns, only had 1 fumble, which for a quarterback is pretty good. Next up was Patrick Laird, and he did help us win one of those last games, the last game of the season. He ended up helping us take the lead late, but of course defense gave it up, and then we won in the first drive of OT, which was fantastic. But he had 4 touchdowns, no fumbles, averaged 3.1 yards a carry, which is about what you expect for most power backs. Bryce Love didn't really get much opportunity. However, he did get a rushing touchdown, and Bodden did have 1 rushing touchdown, only carried the ball 3 times. Receiving-wise, Deshaun Jackson led us. He'll probably retire. I doubt he'll play a 15th season. He also only had 1 touchdown, so kind of disappointing in that aspect, but a little over 8.5 for 800. That's a weird way of putting it. A little over 850. He had 867. I could just say the exact amount that he had. 2 touchdowns for Simi Fehoko. Of course, he missed, I believe it was about the last month of the season. He had 643 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ty Montgomery had a little under 503 touchdowns. DeAndre Carter got out there a bit at the later end of the season. Not much for the majority of the season, but still pretty good. 388 yards and 4 touchdowns. I believe he actually has the most receiving touchdowns, kind of surprising. Zach Ertz, about 350. Christian McCaffrey, a little over 303 touchdowns. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside played pretty well for us in the later part of the season. He had 316 yards, 2 touchdowns. Schultz, 2 touchdowns. And Bryce Love had a passing touchdown, or receiving touchdown. Not really passing. Up front, though, where we definitely need to get better, Walker Little, rookie tackle, he gave up 26 sacks, which is really not good at all. Quessenberry gave up 12. Pete gave up 5. Khalil gave up 3. And then Nate Herbig and Dahlman, both of them, they both started the last 5 games of the season, and they only gave up 1 sack. So depending on what we're able to do in the offseason, maybe either of them need to become a starter. It kind of depends on what ends up happening, but definitely something to look at. They played pretty well for us. Bobby Okereke, 127 sacks, or not sacks, that would be insane, tackles on the season. He leads us by a wide margin. Next would be Paulson Adebo, who had a great rookie year. Tackles for a loss, Okereke had 7. However, that's half of what Solomon Thomas had, 14 on the year for him. Everson Griffin had 13. Then our DTs, Harrison Phillips had 11, and Alua had 8. And then quite a few down the line. I will say Casey Toohill had a great end to his season. Again, he started the last 5 games. He had 5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. Really impressed with how he wrapped up his season. Kind of raises his stocks a bit going into this offseason. Solomon Thomas leads us in sacks with 6.5. Kennard with 5. Phillips 4, same as Brennan Scarlett. Then kind of a chunk as we get further down the line. And I'm pretty sure our interception leader, yes, is Paulson Adebo. Great rookie year for him. He had 4. Michael Thomas had 3. Okereke and Sherman both had 2. And then Scarlett, Lewis Marshall, Hall, Reed, and Richards each get 1. Did we have much in terms of forced fumbles? I know Toohill forced 1. We have Phillips who forced 1, Griffin forced 1, and Toohill did force 1. He also recovered a fumble. So we forced 3. Only recovered 1 of those, so definitely could get better in that category. Kicking wise, pretty good for extra points from Fairburn. Could be better for field goals, only 75%. We'll see maybe if there's someone better available in free agency, but for now he was really our only option that we had in the fantasy draft, and I doubt we'll be drafting. Actually, I don't even think there was one available to draft, so as it stands now, he will continue next year and hopefully improves in his accuracy. And with the season a wrap, we have quite a few upgrades to go through here. So we'll go ahead and run through those. 2 of them for Drew Dahlman. Of course, with the good blocking and running game that we had at the end of the regular season, we had a boost to all of our offensive linemen who got a good chunk of XP. And with the first one, we get lead block, pass block finesse, run block, and run block finesse all go up. We'll go with agile again, as that is our scheme here. And we go with awareness and run block +1, and then pass block finesse gets +2. So that gives him up to a 67. I think that is with a 1 to the boost. And he definitely has some room to improve, for sure. But I think what helped him play so well for us at the latter part of the season was, 1, the boost to the strength with our offensive coordinator upgrade that we got, but lead block, impact block, and awareness is all pretty high, which definitely helps out, especially at the center position. The rest of them aren't really that good. Pass block finesse is good, but that's about it. But he's a center, so the guards around him definitely help out, but nice upgrades there. Christian McCaffrey, of course, he got the boost as well with one of the things that we were able to accomplish. He's up to a 99 overall. He gets a +1 to agility and 2 to awareness. I mean, it's Christian McCaffrey. The guy is insane. Expected him to get up to that point at some point during this rebuild. Justin Reed gets an upgrade. We will go hybrid. He does have a -2 for his morale right now, so he's actually an 85. And he gets a +1 to acceleration, awareness, play rec, press, and then 2 to tackle. Take a quick look at his ratings if you're curious. I mean, really good for a safety. He could play either strong or free. Kind of just depends on who we're able to put alongside him. Andres Pete gets an upgrade, and we definitely need him to be playing a little bit better, as he's one of our better offensive linemen. He gets the pass block finesse upgrade. I mean, fairly balanced guy, which, always like having some balanced guys. Walker Little definitely needs the upgrades. He gave up a lot of sacks, so I think I'm going to focus on pass protector, as it is his worst archetype rating. We get the +1 to strength, pass block power, pass block, and awareness, which should definitely help out for sure. As, his ratings could definitely use some help, but not awful. Ryan Khalil also has an upgrade. We'll go with agile, but most likely I think we would end up starting Dahlman, depending on, again, what we're able to get in free agency or the draft. But most likely starting Dahlman over Ryan, and I'll tell why in a second. But he gets a +1 to run block finesse, and pass block finesse gets +2. But He's 37. If he doesn't retire, we're definitely not starting him next year. We need to start the younger guys, and I expect these ratings to start dropping when we move over to the actual off-season time. Cameron Fleming, he's a backup tackle for us. He'll get an upgrade as well. Go with Agile. He gets +1 to pass block finesse, run block, and then run block finesse gets +2. And again, he's a bit of an older guy, so we're going to try to prefer to play the younger guys if we have the option. Nate Herbig will go power, as that is really what he is. He's a power blocker, and that's about it. He gets the +1 to awareness, impact block, pass block power, and run block. So a nice upgrade across the board for him. He's a big dude. He has some strength, surprisingly not more, as that's really what he was known at Stanford, was just being a big hog mauler up front. But 81 awareness, and that really helped out a lot when we ended up bringing him in. And Davis Mills gets 2 upgrades, so I think we'll go 1 to field general. I do want to go 1 into strong arm, see if we could get a boost to the throw power, but we get +1 for awareness, throw accuracy deep and short, and then +2 to play action. And then we'll go strong arm, hope for a arm upgrade here. And we don't. We get a +2 to awareness and then +1 to break, sack, and throw accuracy mid. So all accuracies go up 1. Throw power is only an 87. I would like that to be a little bit higher so we could unlock a little bit more of the deeper part of the field. But for the most part, upgrades are looking pretty good here, especially if we could avoid the minus morales. The ratings actually aren't too bad. But that is about as much as we could do till we get to the off season. So I'll sim ahead to the Pro Bowl week. We'll run through that roster real quick. And then Super Bowl week, we could see who won the awards. And then it's time to actually start upgrading this team. And now in the Pro Bowl week, take a look at the roster. Kaepernick is the #1 quarterback for the NFC, followed by Mariota and Trevor Lawrence. At the AFC, they have Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Aaron Rodgers. They definitely have the better quarterbacks over on the AFC. Top 2 running backs, Mixon and Chubb. Then over on the NFC, they'll be backed up with Robinson and Montgomery. And then Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook for the AFC. Janovich and Juszczyk. Why are fullbacks always these style names? It's it's weird. Mason will back up the NFC, and Aluwale will be AFC. In terms of receivers, NFCs will have Williams, Johnson, Samuel, Thielen, Woods, and Gage Jr. AFC will have Adams, OBJ, Hill, Chase, Myers, and Renfro. Top tight ends, Knox and Gronkowski, followed up by Trimble and Kelsey in the NFC, and Pitts and Goddard AFC. The offensive linemen, they're the same every year, so we'll just kind of scroll through those, see if there's really anything shocking. There is Treader, who's at least an 84, so kind of lower overall. Conklin, though, he gets in at 82. That's a little bit of a surprise. Top rushers are going to be Armstead and Burns, followed up with Clowney and Lawrence for either side. And then at the right-hand side, Donald and Garrett are the top, followed up with Sweat and Hendrickson. DTs, Clark and Payne. Looks like Chandler Jones and Quinton Williams, I think is how it says. Via Veda is also there, and McDowell. Linebackers, they're always edge rushers. They're for the outside linebackers. They're always edge rushers. And that is going to be Mack and Bosa, followed up by Barrett and Judon. Over at the other side, Von Miller and Van Noy. And then Parsons and Landry the third will be the backups. Bobby Wags and Eric Kendricks, my 2 favorite linebackers, are the number 1 linebackers for both NFC and AFC here. Then Tranquil and Edwards to back them up. Corners, you have Harris Jr. and King II as the number 1s. Kyle Fuller and Denzel Ward. Greedy Williams, I think that would be. AJ Terrell Jr. Sheffield and Verrett. So no love for Adebo, which, unfortunate. Maybe if there was a 5th, he would be the 5th. McCourty and Rapp get the free safety starts with Edwards and McCourty backing up. And then Matthew, and then Peppers as the number 1 strong safeties, followed by Harrison Smith and LaMarcus Joyner, both of which played for us in the Vikings franchise, if you haven't checked that out. Young Ho Koo and Gano as the kickers, Barry and Niswander. He must be a rookie or something because that name doesn't sound familiar to me. Tariq Cohen and Callaway as returners, kick returners, and then Doolin and Aitwill as punt returners. So no love for anyone on our team, unfortunately, but hopefully in the future. And now's time for the yearly award. So Colin Kaepernick gets MVP for the Saints. Coach of the year is Robert Saleh? No, not sure, but not us. We're not in the top 5 there. Honestly, didn't have too good of a year, so it kind of makes sense. AFC Offensive Player of the Year, Kyler Murray. Defensive Player of the Year, Chase Young. Offensive Rookie was Zach Wilson. Mills was down at 4. Honestly, I expected that to be lower considering all the turnovers, but not bad. Defensive Rookie of the Year does not go to Adebo. He was 2nd. We end up getting edged out here by Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I think that's how you pronounce it. I really need to look up all these names before I try to pronounce them. But Adebo ends up being 2nd, so gonna miss out on some points there, which is unfortunate. Best quarterback, Kyler Murray. Running back is Nick Chubb. Keenan Allen will get the number 1 for receivers. Best O-line, Tyrone Smith. Do we have anybody? Yep, didn't think so. D-line, Chase Young. Best linebackers. Went to Bosa. Did we end up having anyone? No, we didn't. DBs, Desmond King. And Adebo was down at 6. Kicker, still not us. Obviously, he didn't have too great of a season. He didn't even make the top 10. Over on the NFC, Offensive Player of the Year, Colin Kaepernick. Defensive Player of the Year, Von Miller. Trey Lance gets Offensive Rookie, and Micah Parsons gets Defensive Rookie. Colin Kaepernick gets Best Quarterback. You'd expect that. Jonathan Taylor, Best Running Back. Really enjoy watching him play. Mike Williams gets Top Receiver. Zach Martin, Best O-Line. Aaron Donald, Best D-Line every single year. Von Miller, Best Linebacker. The Lions had Von Miller and Khalil Mack. I'm sure they had a lot of sacks this season. Tyrann Mathieu gets Best DB. And then Evan McPherson gets the kicker. And in terms of playoffs, in the Super Bowl is going to be the 6 seed Kansas City Chiefs and the 3 seed Atlanta Falcons. Taking a look over on the NFC side first. In the first game was number 2 seed San Francisco 49ers against the Minnesota Vikings. And surprisingly, the Vikings are actually in a Super Bowl in Madden. I feel like that never happens. They end up winning 31-13. Next game was 3 versus 6. Atlanta Falcons versus Green Bay, and Green Bay goes down. Atlanta wins 36-29. Last game of the wild card, 4-5 Giants Saints. Saints destroy the Giants and go on to play against the Falcons and only lose by 3. Close game. It's probably a fun game to watch. Over for his NFC North matchup. I feel like that happens a lot in the divisional round. The Lions beat the Vikings 22-17. However, in the championship, they just got destroyed by the Falcons. The number 1 seed Lions lose 38-7. That was awful. It's a very Lions thing to happen. AFC-wise, Patriots and Texans 2 versus 7. 7 gets the win, 19-16. 3-6 Jaguars Chiefs, another close game, 23-20. Chiefs get the victory. 4-5 Raiders Jets. Raiders get the dub. However, they will lose the next week to the Chiefs, 28-20. The number 1 seed squeaks by the 7th seed Texans. Baltimore gets the dub, 24-21, but they will lose next week in the AFC Championship against the Chiefs, 38-31. So you're set for a all-red Super Bowl, and after we sim to the next week, starting the offseason, we'll see who ends up winning. Who was the season champs here of a league that doesn't exist in real life? As we advance, we'll take a look. And the Super Bowl champions, still even in a fantasy universe, it still ends up being the Kansas City Chiefs. They win 21-14. Chase Young is the Super Bowl MVP. Probably had a lot of sacks. At least that's the only thing I could think of. But big win. Looked like it wasn't too much of a offensive game. It looked like it was a little bit more of a Super Bowl from the mid 2000s, maybe 2010s. Normally they weren't too high scoring. 21-14, probably a good game. And of course, in the first week of the offseason, we have the staff week, which means staff changes are happening, and we are going to join in on those staff changes. So as we take a look at our staff here, David Shaw, he was running a multiple zone run that was chosen specifically because that's what our team was best at. The players that we had available to us, that was what they were good at. We ran a base 3-4. Now our offensive coordinator, he preferred a vertical power run, which was the exact opposite of what we were good at, which could mean, or could kind of make sense on why we had a 31st ranked offense. So Seth Henry will be fired as our offensive coordinator, as we only won 4 games, and a lot of the time it was due to really poor offense. So Seth Henry will be fired. As for our defensive coordinator, we had, I think it was the 24th ranked defense, which honestly, for part of the year, played better than I thought that they would. He was a 3-4 under. We're running a base 3-4, so honestly that's kind of fine, but he also doesn't have much in terms of any talent ratings. He has 0. He has no talent ratings. Could we consider keeping him? We could, but I would say that with how poor the team just played in general, most likely you're going to come in with new coordinators. So David Brown will also be fired, which means we also need to hire some new guys. So we're looking for a multiple zone run guy, or at least a zone run guy, as that's what we are best at. So we have a lot of head coaches available to us. So Zach Taylor ran a multiple zone run, which is exactly what we're looking for. Matt Rule also multiple zone run. Was there anyone else who ran a multiple zone run? There was, and Brian Warner, and he was an offensive coordinator, could stay in that role if we want. And anyone else? There's quite a few people that are available. Another one, 57. He was a former head coach, Jacob Nail, and he would bring in the Raiders playbook. And just to make it realistic, anytime we bring in a new offensive coordinator, we will use the playbook that they are bringing in. So no matter who we bring in, most likely we will be running a new playbook. Another option, another multiple zone run, would be Marshall Wallace. Of course, he has less points to him, only 33, but would keep the same playbook that we ran for this last year. So if we want to go in terms of trying to find the coach that would bring us in the best upgrades. So Jacob Nail ran a multiple zone run. He would bring in 57 points. I think the other ones that we had up here were a little bit less. So there's 54 with Nick Gregory. Same for Brian Warner. Both would be a new playbook that they would be bringing in. And another 54 and 51 with Zach Taylor or Matt Rule. However, Zach Taylor is actually the guy that created our playbook, so that is interesting. But I think if we want to go for the best possible upgrades, I think we have to go with Nail, who would bring in a new playbook. That would be the Raiders playbook. So multiple zone run. He ran a base 4-3, but doesn't matter who'd be an offensive coordinator. So I think we're going to hire Jacob Nail, and he will come and be our offensive coordinator. Going to have at least the multiple zone run synced up with our offensive coordinator and our head coach. That means we will be changing the playbook to the correct one, the Raiders playbook. Now, defensive coordinator. We ran a base 4-3. There is Thomas Peters, who's available with 63 points. Brandon Staley is available with 57. Cameron Kelly, 63. And that would be Chicago's playbook. There's Cliff Kingsbury, who's more of an offensive guy, so that wouldn't really make sense. And he only has a 48 points that he would bring in, so not really an option. There is John Grant, another base 3-4, but also Kingsbury defense, which is interesting. Greg Taylor, only 42 points, so looks like we'll be going for one of those guys towards the top who has just more points, so we could try to improve our team about as much as we can, as I am just going back and forth from the beginning. But yeah, Thomas Peters, that would be Atlanta's playbook, maybe the base 3-4. We used the Steelers playbook, which I honestly wasn't too impressed with. So Thomas Peters is one of the options, and then Brandon Staley, who would bring in the Chargers playbook. However, he had 57 points. So I think we'll end up going then with Thomas Peters as our new defensive coordinator here, who's going to bring in Atlanta's playbook. And now we have all of our coordinators in, and they're synced up with our head coach, which will definitely help. So our new coaching staff will continue to be David Shaw at head coach, Jacob Nail will come in for offensive coordinator, and Thomas Peters will come in at defensive coordinator. We're going to have the correct scheme. We'll just need to update the playbooks to match what our coordinators brought in. And now I have updated our playbooks to match what our coordinators are bringing in. The interesting thing is that we brought in a multiple zone run offensive coordinator who's using the Raiders playbook, but the Raiders playbook is a power run West Coast scheme. So that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. The Atlanta for our defensive coordinator, that works. It was a multiple 3-4. That'll be fine because it's still a 3-4. So we'll take a look at it, see if we end up liking it. But I'm going to assume that there was a situation here that David Shaw and our new offensive coordinator in Nail, they decided to come up with a new playbook. So we'll choose a different playbook that's a multiple zone run, but we won't have it be the same that we used last year. And after some collaborating, we're going to decide on running the Brian Flores Miami playbook. It's multiple zone run. It has more pistol than what we had to us last year. Still a lot of shotgun formations, which will help with getting McCaffrey in the passing game as well. Also has some wildcat and some strong formations whenever we need to go into some short distance, get layered out there, or whatever power back we have in the future. But this will be the current playbook that we will run with for this next season. And now that our coordinators and playbooks are all set, now we have 181 staff points that we need to use to upgrade these guys. And obviously we spent a lot of time last year to get to weight room for our offensive linemen. That's the first thing that we're going to do here, so we'll just run through some of these offensive ones. You're going to need to choose a side here. Impact blocking for fullbacks or tight ends. I would prefer tight ends, but the run block power boost versus a finesse. We're going to have more finesse blocking, but again, we're not going to have a lot of fullback blocking, so it's, I think in a way you could say we'll go with the tight end side because we're going to have a focus on agility linemen, but every now and then we're going to need to have some power, but they're not going to be that focused on it. So if we have the boost for their power but focus on upgrading the finesse, it'll help balance out a little bit here. Be a pass blocking boost for tight ends, which makes no sense to me, but it's fine. And then I'm pretty sure you need to upgrade both of the sides here, which you do. So we'll get those upgraded, which now gives us the boost for our strength for our offensive line. And now we need to do the same for our defense. So first upgrade here for the defense, and now we need to choose a side. So we have a boost of tackling for the linebackers or for the line. I would prefer linebackers. Block shedding for edge or tackles. Now, I would think kind of similarly here. I always upgrade the run stopping for my DTs and then rush for my ends. So the ends aren't going to get their boost really to block shedding that often. So going here could be a good option. Pursuit for edge or linebackers. Linebackers are already going to have good pursuit. Could definitely use that boost for our edge rushers. And then hit power for ends versus DTs. I feel like DTs rarely get much tackle. So we're going to upgrade the left-hand side of this chart here. Go all the way down and get that boost to our strength for our defensive line, which should also be a big upgrade for us. Get that strength boost, and that leaves us with 45 points. And I don't think we have much really at all, for our coaches, or our head coach. So why don't we do some player growth? Do we want to go offensive linemen? Basically, offense or defense is kind of the way we need to think about it. And I think just out the get-go, our defense is much better than our offense is. So I think going with the offensive upgrade would be better. And I think, can't say for certain, but I think that kind of fits with Shaw. I feel like he's a little bit more of an offensive guy. Of course, these ones cost a bit more points, so halfbacks will get the last upgrade with 5 points left over. So those will build up as we go through the actual season, get some more points and continue upgrading, but big upgrades across the board. The strength is a big one for our offense and defensive line. And now's a bit of the sad time where there are retirees that are going through. Alex Mack will retire, Mercedes Lewis, Antonio Brown was a Viking in this, not sure how I feel about that. Joe Flacco retires, Andrew Whitworth retires, Calais Campbell, Emmanuel Sanders retires. There's some big names who retired this season. Gonna run through here a little bit. I'm surprised I didn't see any of our guys retire. Maybe they're at the bottom? Eric Weddle retired. So he retired and then unretired. Larry Fitzgerald retired. Yeah, he retired, then unretired, then won a Super Bowl, and then retired again. Really surprised. There was just one of our backup quarterbacks, Josh Johnson, retired. So some of the 15-year-old vets are coming back. Bit surprising there. Definitely would have assumed that they would have retired. Maybe they'll retire after we kind of get through a few of these rounds. But first, we need to negotiate with all of our 17 players. I didn't do any of this during the season. Just kind of wanted to see how people regress mostly. Everson Griffin is one of the guys up here. We'll take a look, see. He was one of our better edge rushers. We don't really have someone who is nearly as highly rated, nor is there anyone really that good in the draft. So we would have to bank on maybe free agency. And I think for most of these guys, we would look to go into free agency to probably re-sign some of them. We'll do that with Griffin here, just because he's 34 and 74 overall, so I doubt there's going to be much in terms of people going after him. Deshaun Jackson, he regresses quite a bit down to a 68. He was our highest overall receiver, not anymore, however. We'll maybe bring back some of these guys. Kennard, he was one of our leading sacks. I think he was second in sacks for us. But most of these guys, we're just going to try to see if they would want to come back in open free agency. Questenberry also regressed a bit, which is unfortunate, as he was one of our better tackles. But yeah, most of these guys, as you could see, they're all pretty old. Ryan Khalil, he started center for us most of the year. I think we're going to go with Dahlman now, especially I think Dahlman will be a higher overall. It looks like Patrick Laird might have regressed. We'll see if we end up bringing him back. A lot of these guys we're just going to end up letting go, if not all of them. Mainly there's, I think, maybe a couple that might be at the end that were some late round guys who are young, who we would like to keep around just to progress. So like Luke Barku, someone we could consider. However, he is 24. He was a rookie, I think, last year, but a little bit on the older side. Maybe we'll bring him back in open free agency. We'll take a look at at fullbacks as well. Jordan Kunazik, he played really well for us when it came to the last few games. Someone that we might look to bring back, but for now, I think we're just gonna say no to everyone and then just head into open free agency and see if we could just get better at a lot of these positions. And since this is a California school-only rebuild, I always check the roster after every season just to make sure that the CPU didn't sign someone to a practice squad that's now on the team who was not at a school in California. So looks like so far so good. I did clean up the practice squad early on in the season, so I don't believe we'll have anyone, but just kind of got to make sure so that way we don't have anyone that's on the team that shouldn't be on the team. It also lets us know kind of what positions we need to be looking at to bring some guys in. So far still good. All right, so we ended up not having any that joined the team that shouldn't have, so that's good, but we could take a look at maybe some guys that we would like to bring in. A new backup quarterback, just because I don't trust Kevin Hogan if for some reason Davis Mills were to get injured. We could use another running back, maybe two. Try to find a power back would be nice. We need a fullback. Receivers, we only have 5. We could do with another. So maybe we'll end up looking at bringing back Jackson, but we'll see what all is available. Tight ends, we look pretty solid at. Tackles, I know we need some linemen, for sure. Looks like we would have maybe one backup at this point, so definitely need to bring in some offensive linemen. And edge rush, we only have one, well, not really edge rushers. We need some ends. We only have one on roster currently. We have 3 DTs, so we're good there. We could move some of these guys around if need be. Let's see, linebackers, two, maybe could use a middle linebacker. Another outside linebacker could be helpful. Corner-wise, I think if there's some better guys, we could definitely bring in some better ones. But at least we have majority of guys who could use a safety, and we need a kicker. So that's kind of what we need to look at, mostly every position, just because we want to improve where there's options for us to do so. So now it's time to sign some free agents. So we have a lot of money, a lot of availability for us to sign some guys. So I'm going to run through here and try to find some guys that's available for us to pick up. So the first guy I would like to put an offer for is Brett Hundley. He's quarterback out of UCLA. Good size to him, and he has a bit of speed. He has 83 speed, 86 acceleration. So maybe a little bit of a wildcat quarterback, has some decent accuracy. However, he does have an offer already on the table for the Chiefs. So I just want to give the base offer here and kind of see where that puts us, as that's about, I think, what the Chiefs had offered. So we would need to extend a higher offer here. Make this slightly better offer for him. 6.45 over 3 years, and that will give us the edge there, just because, again, I want someone better for a backup quarterback than a 52 overall, and there's not a whole lot of options available to us so far. We will also be putting in an offer here for Laird. He does have one offer already on the table from the Jets. It looks like they're giving him a decent amount. There's not a whole lot of options for us, so we'll end up having to bump this up a little bit. Make it a 3-year, $9 million. Will that give us the edge over the Jets? It'll barely put us up, so that is at least one running back. I'll look to see if there's perhaps another one, but not finding a whole lot of running backs. And as for fullbacks, the only one that's actually available for us is Nick Bodden, so we'll try to bring him back. He played all right for us. We'll try to make it a smaller offer here. 3 years, 3.6. Decent amount offer there. And I think that's all we really needed, at least for any kind of blocking type guys that also could possibly catch, like tight ends and fullbacks we're good at. Now we need to find maybe some receiver help as well. And again, for some more added depth here, we'll try to bring back Deshaun Jackson. Gonna have it be on a cheaper contract, hopefully, as I don't think he will play all too much, but won't be too rude to the guy. Offer a 2.4. It's a smaller contract. If he accepts, cool. If he doesn't, that's all right. Now, as for our offensive line, there are 3 different guys. There are more than 3 that we could go after, but 3 that I think would actually help us in progressing our offensive line. And the highest overall one is Mitchell Schwartz. He's 72 overall. He's 33 years old, out of California, but he's a fairly well-balanced guy. Plus, with the boost to the strength, will be at an 89, so he could be a solid guy to pick up. We'll offer him a 2-year deal. I don't believe he has any other contract offers on the table right now. So offer a 2-year, 7.4, be an 81-point bid. He does have another offer, and that would be from the Saints. So they're going to make us go a little bit higher here. Of course, we have quite a bit of cap space to allow us to do so. Bump this up to an 87. They still have the lead there. We bump this up to a 3. Be 2 years, about 10 mil. And that will give us a good lead. And he would definitely be one that is starting. There's also a guard that's available in Andre James. He has quite a few other offers at the moment, but he's a younger guy that we could help try to build around as well. And he's a fairly balanced guy. Definitely could use the strength boost. So we will also offer him, and since he is younger, try to lock him down for a bit longer here and go with a 3-year, about $12 million That'll be a 101-point offer. Now, does that give us the lead? Puts us in second. So we would need to give a little bit more here. Maybe 12.3. Be a 105-point offer, and that will give us the lead on Andre James. And then the last one is Wes Schweitzer, I believe is how you pronounce it. And again, kind of in that 28 range. That he's 28 years old, which is kind of in a range where you don't know if they're going to start regressing or if they'll continue to stay where they are. But we do have a lot of older linemen, so being able to lock in some of these guys would definitely help out here. So we'll give a 2-year, about $7 million contract offer, and that's definitely the highest there. So the 3 offensive linemen that we could bring in, they may not all be starters, kind of to see how it goes, but they will definitely help us out. Andre James would be the higher overall center for us. We did see Dahlman play pretty well, and then Schwartz would be the only right tackle that we have currently, so would most likely definitely be getting the start there. And now switching over to defensive line, where we need a lot of help. Currently only have one end, and then we do have 3 DT, so we should be good there, but we definitely need some edge help, or end help. Edge is more of the linebackers in our case. Everson Griffin doesn't have a current contract offer, so we'll give him a 1-year, a little less than $6 million. Still a pretty good offer for him. The second D lineman we will offer here is a 23-year-old Marlon Tuipulotu? Probably again butchering these. I really need to learn the pronunciation for these, but we'll give him a sizable offer as he could definitely grow for us. Don't want to overpay those. Currently no other team has any contract offers out for him, so we'll make it a smaller one here. We'll go with a 3-year, 5.55. That might be a little too small, but we'll see if he ends up taking that. We'll end up seeing if we find any more DTs or defensive ends for us. Another offer we will put out here is for Takk McKinley. They have him listed at edge rush, or left end. Wouldn't fit for our 3-4, but as a outside backer, could fit well for us and decently young. So we'll give him a decent offer here. Go down a little bit, make it a 3-year, $11 million offer. I don't believe anyone else has offered him. There isn't any other offers, so that is another one we've got out there to help try to round out our team. And with his solid play at the end of last season, we will offer Jordan Kunazik here. We get a little bit of smaller contract offer here, but we'll give him a little bit of a signing bonus. He played well and deserves it. And to help out at corner, because we really only have a number 1. Richards really regressed, so I doubt he would be playing very much. We'll be trying to sign Fabian Moreau, 6 foot, 204, great size, 28 years old, from UCLA. And his ratings, good speed, acceleration. He's a bit more of a zone. We play a little bit more of man, but he offers some turnover options here with 70 catching, so definitely be bringing him in. He has some good strength as well. Probably give him a decent contract offer here. Let me get this down to 12. Yeah, there we go. 3 years, $12 million. Be a 90-point offer. Currently doesn't have any other offers, and he would be our number 2 corner behind Paulson Adebo. And at safety, there wasn't a whole lot of options, so we'll go with Jordan Richards here. Give him a 2-year deal and a little signing bonus just to sweeten it a little bit. Be an 83-point deal. And the only thing left we need to find is a kicker. And at kicker, the only option really available to us would be to re-sign Fairburn. So we will try to bring him back in. 2 years, $6.4 million offer. It's a good contract offer. And that is the last offer that we will give out for the first round. So now we just need to skip on over to the next round and see who's going to join us on our California rebuild. And we have a lot of notifications here. So accepted center James. He is a new addition. Kunazik will be returning. Fabian Moreau does come in. So we do have a number 2 corner. Schwartz also coming in. So a new starter at tackle. Laird will return. We are rejected by a young defensive tackle, which is unfortunate. We do also, so we get all the offensive linemen. And Fairburn will be returning. Takk McKinley is coming in. He will be moved over to edge rush. Bodden will return at fullback. we have a new backup quarterback in Brent Hundley, and Everson Griffin returns, and so does Richards. So a lot of guys coming in, new guys as well. Or got a lot of guys returning, some new guys coming in as well, I guess would be the better way of putting that. The only contract that we put out that wasn't picked up was Deshaun Jackson, so not bad. The only rejection too that I think that we had was that DT. So I'm curious as to where he did end up signing, especially since he was a lower overall guy. He's going to the Texans, 1 year, a little under $3 million. I'm pretty sure that's much better than what we offered, so makes sense for him. And with there only being one guy who didn't sign, that being Jackson, there's not much left for us to do in free agency as we picked up everyone that we really wanted to. I believe next week we do have some focus off-season scouting. So let's take a look. Scouting, there it is. They still have retirements up. Did anyone else happen to retire since we last looked? Looks like a couple guys. Cameron Wake, Josh Norman ends up retiring. Not bad. At least none of our older guys retired and left us with a hole to fill. But let's take a look at the guys available to us and what we really have the option to do in this draft. So obviously the last time we had the focus, we learned everything there was to learn about Nate Cooper. He's actually a 3rd to 4th round talent rather than the 2 to 3 that they thought, which honestly, makes some sense. We didn't think he was as high as they were saying either. We don't know everything about some of the other corners. Round of 1, there's some receivers, which we could definitely use some receiver help this year. If we need a 1 to 2 round guy, those are pretty much the only options. And then there were some tackles that we did want to learn about, both Theo Hayes and Cedric Bryan, just so we try to get better, get some depth as well. So we would be selecting both of those tackles, but what receiver do we like the most? There's Junior Generals, who's a deep threat, 6'1", 180 pounds, and then he's out of Stanford. And then Darrell McLean out of UCLA, another deep threat, but 5'9", 180 pounds. What are they looking like in terms of ratings, athletics? So a really fast guy here out of Stanford. Not too good in terms of strength, really low on the bench reps, but he's quick, agile, has the speed for sure. A spin move, decent. B release, which is really good, especially if he's going to be a deep threat. B injury, B run blocking, C catching. So some interesting ratings there. C route running for medium. I don't think I said medium. That's interesting. And if he's a deep route runner, you think that deep route running would be at least a B, maybe higher. So Generals is an interesting one. Might select him. Darrell McLean. What is he looking like? So for his physicals, again, about just as fast, not as quick, not as agile as Generals. But with him, we get B deep route running, B medium route running. So probably, I'm assuming, well, they did say that he was a deep route runner. It's looking a little bit more like a balance to me. Either one, I think, could be a good pick. I think in my case, I might just be a little bit of biasy here, but I think I'll go with the Stanford guy. He's also 22. Both of the receivers are 22. I think I would go with Generals. Just because I liked a little bit more. He has some athleticism to him, a well-rounded athleticism, and he has B release, which is big. So I'll probably go with him and then those two tackles just to see if we could find out a little bit more about either one of them, but most likely going to be one of those receivers in the first round. And as we sim on over to the next week, we do get the contract accepted there from Deshaun Jackson, so he will be returning again. And now, like I said, we need to select those private workouts, so it will be Generals and those two tackles. And just so you see, I have it selected here. Wide receiver, Junior Generals, great name by the way. And then both the right tackles, Theo Hayes and Cedric Bryan. The tackles we scouted or tried to scout last time didn't get any of the information, so we'll see what we end up getting. Maybe some of their information, maybe the receiver's information. Either way, be good information to know. And that's basically all we have to do here, so we're just ready to get into the draft. And taking a look at the scouting report, it looks like we actually got information on both Theo Hayes and Cedric Bryan. As we go over to generals, we didn't get any new information, still 75% scouted. So let's take a look at these two tackles. It looks like the first one here is more of a power guy, Theo Hayes out of USC, 6'8", 326 pounds, 22 years old. And with him, we know about 31 to 32 reps. Of course, would get better with our boost to our strength from our offensive coordinator. With some decent agility to him, but nothing too over the top for him. His skills-wise, B awareness, B injury, B run block finesse, and B run block power. So definitely seems like more of a run blocker. Then he has C for lead block, pass block finesse, and C run block. So not awful. Definitely seeing the 3rd to 4th round with him. And the second guy, Cedric Bryan out of Stanford. He's 6'11", 305, 22 years old. He is a agile guy. He does have a lot more speed, as you see here. A little bit more bench reps, not a whole lot more, but definitely has more. Just a well-rounded athletic lineman here. A impact block, A injury, B pass block finesse, B run block finesse, and B stamina. Then has C lead block and C run block power. Definitely my favorite of the two and would be picked first. Honestly, with those A's and the B combo, thinking that could actually be more towards a 2nd round pick. Of course, we would be picking, I'm pretty sure we'll probably be first, if not 2nd overall in the draft. So most likely we'll need to be moving down, but really good lineman. I would like to pick up Cedric Bryan for sure. And we are into the NFL draft, and I was correct. We're not picking first, but we are picking second. So the first pick in this draft is going to be Bill Foster, a left tackle out of Bama. Now, for us, none of our guys were very highly rated. So if we go and take a look at, or at least highly ranked, I guess you should say. We don't know about the ratings yet and won't know till the draft is over, but we have some 2s, some 3s, the 1 and 2s for the receiver, so junior general's probably not going for a while. And that's about it. Some day 3s, so definitely need to be looking to move down here. We have 1 pick in every round, so let's take a look, see if we could find where junior generals is expected to go. In terms of receivers, just in general, junior generals isn't supposed to go until he's supposed to be the 8th one off the board, so not for a while. McLean is expected to go before him. If we take a look just overall, I'm going to run through here, try to find where he's listed. So they don't actually expect junior generals to go until about the 33rd overall pick, which would happen to be our first pick. No, it would be right before our first pick in the 2nd round. So we could definitely move down in this draft, maybe get some picks for next year, kind of to see what all is available, and pick him a little bit later. In terms of the trades we have available to us, we see the Bears are offering us their first pick next year, which they expect to be the number 1 overall pick. It's a little bit surprising. Then also a 3rd and 6th next year. If we move down to 10, we could pick up a 2nd and a 6th this year. Move down to 17, pick up another 1 next year. Which, I mean, it's fairly intriguing. Also pretty intrigued by the Cleveland pick. But I don't want to do too much trading down, so I want to find one that just fits in general here, as we're going for generals. Pun just happened to fall on my plate there. This Minnesota one dropped down to 26. He would be a 20. We would also pick up another 1st round pick next year and a 2nd round pick this year. Not that we have a lot of 2nd round picks to choose this year, though. I think what we are going to do is this Tampa Bay pick here. We'll drop down to 17, pick up another 1st round next year. It would be a later 1st round pick, most likely, and a 2nd round pick. I feel like that would just fit better with kind of where guys tend to be. So we'll go with this pick, drop down to 17, and pick up a couple picks next year. And we're back at pick 17, and there's been a run of receivers in between our trade and now. So I think if we want to get our guy, and we don't have a whole lot of options, we need to make sure we don't lose out. Darryl McLean is the next suggested guy, followed by an Oklahoma receiver, and then Junior General. So I think if we want to secure our guy, we have to go now. Again, these two are very, very similar, but I just think we get the better size with Junior Generals, and we get that release as well. So he will be our first pick in this California-only rebuild challenge, and it is very fitting that it's going to be a Stanford receiver. So Junior Generals is selected. It's just a normal overall, bit disappointing, but look at that athleticism. 94 acceleration, 96 agility, 94 change of direction, jumping is an 89, and speed is a 94. So he's going to be a burner, which definitely helps as Deshaun Jackson has regressed quite a bit in his, 15th, 16th year in the NFL. So good pickup for us. Again, we're not judging this based off of the entire draft, but based off of guys that were available to us. And I have a feeling he's probably one of the better ones. And now we'll just go ahead and skip forward to our next pick. It's about half a round away. Back to pick 2 here in the second round. We just need to see who's available. It could be possible that maybe that other receiver is still available. I don't think we need 2, but you never know. Quarterbacks, no one really worth looking at. Receivers, the other guy did go, so we'll take a look at that, see what he ended up being. There's some day 3, anything, some more day 3, or not day 3, round 3 guys at tackle that we definitely do like. Might consider going with one of them, as we again don't want to miss out on them, but kind of got to go with what is best available. The only 2 to 3 round guy I think we have on this board is Nate Cooper, and he's actually a 3 to 4. There is another corner in Dwayne Parham, but coverage isn't very good, so not too high on selecting him at this point. And then no safeties worth drafting either. So there are some 3rd and 4th round guys we would like to pick up, at least just for depth. So I think what we need to go for right now is lock down Cedric Bryan. Again, it's not based off of the full class, but based off of our available class. And Cedric Bryan is definitely the next best one. You could argue he might have even been just the best one in general, having A's and B's. Which is again kind of another pun there in general. But we're going to go with Cedric Bryan here. I think he's the best available guy for us. And he's a hidden dev player. He's going to come in with 86 strength with the +4 boost. We'll bring that up to 90. Also has 74 speed, 75 agility, and 80 acceleration, which is really good for a guy who's 6'7", 305. So the first 2 guys that we draft, both Stanford players. We now jump forward to the 3rd round, where we'll make another selection. There's not really much reason in trading away most of these picks. Could definitely use the depth and get some youth at the in the team as well. So what all do we have available? Have a couple different guys. So 3rd to 4th round guy in Parham, and the other tackle still available as well. So those 2 seem to be the only options really for us here in a 3rd round, and both might still be an option for us in terms of 4th round picks as well. So it just kind of goes to who do we think the best 3rd rounder will be. Obviously we know with Hayes, he's more of a power guy, but he provides some run blocking, could be some depth for us. Both guys are going to end up being depth either way, and I think Theo Hayes would be a better pick for us than a corner with D coverage. So Theo Hayes we will select in the 3rd round. Again, we'll come in with 90 strength with that +4. He is just a normal dev, but acceleration's not bad, and kind of about what you would expect for a big power guy. But our first guy drafted not from Stanford, Hayes will come from USC. At the beginning of the 4th round, here's all who we have available. 15 guys left, a lot of potential undrafted, some day 3 guys, but most potential undrafted. So in terms of the day 3 guys that we have available, there's Dakota Coleman, who looks more like a DT for us. There is a receiver in Nate Gordon out of UCLA, and another tackle. I don't really think we need any more offensive linemen. So what do these receiver and defensive tackle look like? Nate Gordon, 6'1", 200 pounds, 23 years old, out of UCLA. Decent speed, decent strength, just a decent physicals just around the board there. A lot of D's, C's, and F's, so not looking too promising with Nate Gordon. Dakota Coleman, on the other hand, 6'5", 320 pounds, 22 years old, out of UCLA. Not an extremely strong guy, could be moved, or we could keep him even at end position. Right end, left end, not really edge for us in our 3-4 scheme, but could see a boost. And we see C block shedding, B impact block, B stamina. Those are much better than what we saw with the ratings for the receiver, so we'll go ahead and pick up Dakota Coleman here, see what we end up getting. A normal dev guy, 81 strength, we'll boost that up to 85, which would be fine for a right or left end. 81 speed is a really good combination with 79 acceleration and agility, especially for a 6'5", 320 pound guy. So some athleticism with some size, really nice to add to the line. And now in the 5th, we still have that receiver, the only one who's projected to actually get any time out there, or be someone who could really be drafted. Unfortunately, I don't think he was really that good, so we will be looking at some other positions here. And there is a corner that went up 1 spot. Let's look to see who went up the most spots during the season. So 111 middle linebacker and Aiden Medlock. I think that will be our highest. Next one, 105 with a left tackle, but again, don't really need any more linemen. So Aiden Medlock, what do you look like here? You are 6'1", 243 pounds, 23 years old, out of UCLA, or not UCLA, USC. Ooh, rivalry, don't want to mess that one up. He is okay, has some speed, some strength. Acceleration and agility looks pretty good, but not a whole lot past that. We know he could hit, and he cannot cover. So not looking too great, but all these guys are undrafted, or potential undrafted. We will obviously be drafting someone here. And we could definitely use some safety help. Larry Fountain, 6 foot, 206, 21 years old, out of San Jose State. I don't believe we have too many San Jose guys on the team. He's not extremely fast, has some decent agility. Yeah, that's about it with the physicals. He does have a kick return, so some sort of athletic standpoint there. C tackle, C catching. I think we have to make this pick strictly out of needs, and we need at least one more safety. So we'll pick up Fountain, and he's a normal dev, 84 speed, which is okay. Definitely for a strong safety, that'll work. 89 acceleration helps, 81 agility, 77 change of direction. Not bad. We'll see what his ratings are. I'm expecting probably low 60s, maybe high 50s. And in the 6th round, we still have 12 available players, so a lot of our guys still up here. Let's take a look at the corner here. This is Bob Bates, 5'11", 201, 23 years old, out of USC. His skills in terms of physical, not awful. Decent speed, good strength. Okay, agility, acceleration. In terms of what he can do, has some block shedding, has some tackle ability, so potential slot guy, but his cover ability doesn't look too great. What about Philip Chambers? Take another look at a defensive lineman. We do need some depth up front. 6'3", 304, 21 years old, out of USC. Has some good strength to him. Not a fast guy, so definitely thinking he would stay at DT. But he has some agility and acceleration. Has C finesse. 6th round pick. Why not? We need some depth. We'll pick him up. Gonna come in with 83 strength. That'll boost up to 87. 82 acceleration. Not bad for a DT. Hopefully his ratings are decent to okay. And with the final pick for us, still 10 players on the board. Really makes you think where we need to go here. A lot of these guys only 40% completed. We do know that Nate Gordon's still there, 75%, but I just don't think he had very good ratings. See, D short route running, C release, and his physicals were okay. I just don't think it would be a great pick there. So what else do we have available? I think there were a lot of offensive linemen. There's again that quarterback. But I don't think we need any more linemen. Can maybe use a linebacker. I know we looked at Medlock earlier, and we know he's not a good cover guy. Maybe could be a decent run stopper for us. Again, doesn't have a whole lot of... I mean, he has okay speed and strength, decent agility, or pretty good agility and acceleration. So I think we'll go ahead and pick up Medlock with our last pick. He's a normal dev, 80 speed, 89 acceleration, 83 agility, pretty good for a linebacker. And now it's time to actually take a look at these guys and see what their ratings are, see how we did. And here's the first look at the guys we were able to bring in. So I was incorrect about Brian possibly being better than Generals. Generals will come in 77 overall. I think honestly that's one of the highest overalls of anyone that I've drafted in this game. I normally get better development traits, but in terms of just overalls, really good. We'll probably end up changing his number. 89 looks a little strange for a receiver, but really good ratings. He will be our number one receiver for sure. He's going to come in with 94 speed and acceleration. Catching is an 80, catching traffic 81, spec catch 82, deep route running starts at an 81. Short route running 78, so hopefully that will help with Davis Mills with his he doesn't have a cannon, so we will be going more towards medium route runnings, medium routes, but hopefully we'll be able to get him open with a deep route running. 81 release will definitely help. 96 agility, 89 jumping, 94 change of direction, so after the catch, guy will be insane. And stamina is an 89, injury 93, toughness 80. I mean, this is a fantastic pick for us and should definitely help with trying to get some quicker passes out there, helping the offensive line not have to block for as long. Our second pick was Cedric Bryan, and he has a -1 for morale, but then also a +1 for our coaches, so he ends up still being a 68. He does have hidden development, however, and he will come in with a pretty good starting position here, or at least starting ratings. With that strength being 90 is fantastic. Impact block is pretty good. Awareness will need to get better, but definitely more of a pass blocker and will challenge Walker Little for his starting spot. And then will potentially take over for the new tackle that we brought in, who I think is 33 years old. So we'll probably not get the start this year, but definitely is someone to look at, maybe have as a focus player. In the third round, we went with the other tackle, Theo Hayes. He ends up getting a +2 from our coaches, a -1 for morale. So I think that would be be 70, I think. Sure. He comes from USC, and again, pretty good, balanced guy across the board. That's what I really like to try to find, is just some balanced linemen for us. Definitely has that. Impact block is fantastic. And with there being a bit of a blend, might move him down to guard, as the pass blocking ratings aren't really too far away. They're honestly about the same as the run blocking. So kind of just move him around. He might be our number one backup, but a huge guy, huge body up front that we can move around is a great pickup for us. We followed that up by picking a right end in Dakota Coleman. He's a guy we can move anywhere along the offensive line or the defensive line with his size at 6'5", 320. And with him, he has some decent strength, 85, 81 speed. He comes in with 77 power moves, which is probably one of the highest on the team, I feel like. Awareness could definitely use some help, and block shedding can use some help, but a great pickup here. And he's just a normal dev, but still a really nice pickup at 22 years old. We then went with what I was assuming would probably be a reach in Larry Fountain, and it was only a 59 overall, but about what I expected. And he has some decent speed, Not much in terms of coverage or tackle ability. He'll be the third safety for us. So probably won't see a whole lot of play time, but we needed some depth. So solid, decent guy to get. We also picked up Philip Chambers, 21-year-old out of USC. He's a DT, and he comes in 87 strength, and that's about it. He's just a body that you could put out there, so we could mold him really however we want. With there being a lack of speed, definitely keep him at DT and just pump the block shedding for him. But not an awful guy to pick up. Impact blocking is 70, so he could definitely do a job. It's just getting him to where he can do it. So Philip Chambers, not bad, 6th-round pick, about what you would expect. And then with our last pick, we went and drafted Aiden Medlock out of USC. A lot of USC guys in this. He has some decent speed, decent tackle, hit power is pretty good. Just don't ask him to cover anything. Block shedding isn't too high either. He's a guy we can mold into something. What that will be, not quite sure, but he's depth, might end up being a practice squad kind of player. In terms of did we draft the right receiver, Darrell McLean out of UCLA, he comes in same overall at 77, but he does have hidden dev. But do the ratings really make up for it? Pretty similar, but we got the guy with a higher starting spot for deep route running. I think short route running is about the same. We have the higher release. Speed about the same. I think ours is 94. McLean 95. We're a little bit more well balanced as our guy has much better catch in traffic. A little bit less in terms of catching and then spec catch. But honestly, I don't think you could have missed with either one of these guys. They both look like they're top end receiver talent. We went with a taller guy. I just prefer some taller receivers. So not bad. And then in terms of all receivers, let's see here. So 74s. There was a 71 that went in the 6th round. 73, 77, 75. Generals as 77. Run through here. Any more receivers with anything higher? No. So we ended up drafting tied for the best overall at receiver. And in terms of overall across the board, the highest overall guy available in this class was Luke Macklin at 78, followed up by Antoine Martin, a speed rusher from Texas, and then Junior Generals, followed by Darrell McLean. So with the 17th pick in the draft, we picked up the 3rd best guy after dropping down from 2 to pick up 2 picks next year, one in the 1st round and one in the 2nd round. I think that went perfectly for us. And the last thing we need to do in this episode is we'll sim on over to the preseason, change up, correct the roster a little bit, and take a look at the free agents, see if there's anyone who happened to get by us that we could add who will end up being practice squad players. The first undrafted that we will pick up is Nate Gordon, that day 3 receiver that we had on our board. We find out he has okay speed, 89 speed, 88 acceleration, catching and spec catch decent, has a okay starting point in terms of route running and release, and injury is alright, stamina not great. After the run, has some ability there, so we will go ahead and add him. He might end up just being a practice squad player for us, but that's fine. We need to fill out our practice squad, so he is the first one that we will bring in out of UCLA. And after going through the entire rest of free agency, there were some guys from eligible schools, but they were all 30 plus years old and wouldn't be starters or anything for us. And we already have 57 guys, so I end up not adding anyone else, but maybe we will after the season starts. We'll take a look again, see who's on other teams' practice squads, see if we could poach some guys who are from eligible schools. But that will do it for us here. In the offseason, we've made a lot of progress. We have new offensive and defensive coordinators, new playbooks, a lot of new players moved around, and you'll get to see all of them in their first bit of action here in the preseason. That will be the next episode. We'll go through the entire preseason, probably do the same way that I did the last Vikings preseason. We did the first quarter of the first game, second quarter of the second quarter, then the second half of the last game, where you'll see most of the younger guys out there, if not all of them. And then take a look at the stats and kind of make our final decisions come that final preseason week. Maybe add some guys, like I said, on the other teams' practice squads. But that's all we have for you here today. I hope you guys are enjoying this California Challenge rebuild. And if you are, let me know. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you guys have tried this, or just leave a like, or hit the subscription button so you stick around, take that bell notification to be notified of when these are posted, or you can follow me on Twitter, BigBearB_gaming. I always tweet out when my videos are posted for you to go watch and enjoy yourself. So, until next time, I hope you guys enjoy this off season, and we'll see you later. Bye.